I hope you're doing okay today. So, on today's topic of discussion, I thought I'd bring up a little bit of information on the Christmas period and dieting and hitting a fat loss goal, or whatever it is that you wanted to focus on at this moment in time. Um, and I just want to bring up a little bit of information of being able to make sure that we don't go down a certain path with what we're considering doing over this festive period as well, and try to avoid these common traits which generally tend to happen on a regular basis. And it's very, very common to go down this. I've done this before in the past as well, and I want you guys to avoid this. And as I say, I've picked up plenty of clients in the past, and I've tried to focus on some of these methods as well, which can potentially help them out. And a little bit of information I want to bring up with you today, guys, is sometimes we need to be willing to accept a few things which are generally going to happen at this period in time that we're in. You know, we've all got social lives, we all got family commitments, and all of these things that we've potentially got planned leading up to this festive period that we're coming into will require us to do a number of things. So, one thing will be potentially drinking alcohol, maybe slightly more than what you usually do. You might not have a drink at all, and you generally tend to consume something over the festive period. You're going to potentially choose different types of options of foods, which are slightly more highly calorific, slightly more palatable. You probably want to consume slightly more of this food as well. All of these things that you're going to potentially do are going to affect your goal. Simple as that. And you will gain body fat. You need to accept that you will gain body fat. And it's very, very important for you guys to understand that. Because if you don't accept it, if you don't realize that these processes do happen, it can affect your goal with where you want to go, the journey that you want to go down. And usually the reason why it affects people's goals, which I think is very, very important for you guys to understand, is people feel guilty for consuming something or going out for friends and having a drink, and whatever you've done over the festive period, you've probably enjoyed yourself. Should we really be feeling guilty for this? Should we be calling this a bad thing to be happening? And it's building that healthy relationship, which I think is very, very important, and your mindset up here that it is okay to be doing these things and accept that these things will happen, once in a while, especially around the Christmas period, maybe a little bit more than what you would do normally. And you may gain a little bit of weight, and it will fluctuate a little bit. You might gain like 3 pounds of weight within the weekend, probably even more, because you've maybe consumed slightly different types of foods, which have increased that. That's not necessarily body fat either. And the fact of the matter you need to understand, guys, is trying to make sure that we do jump back on board of things, and that is something that I wanted to bring up with you today, guys, which is important to just give you a little bit of motivation, and try and make sure that we still provide some form of effort over this festive period. And it's easy for me to say this to you right now at this moment in time and explain to you that just jump back on board of it as quickly as possible and do all of these things. We got to think of averages over time. How many times have I mentioned this on things like podcasts and stuff before, where I've explained averages over time matter the most? But I do bring this up, and I think it's important to bring it up again, that all of the progression that you made, all of the things that you focused on to get yourself the best possible results over the weeks, the months, whatever, however long you've been working on your goal for, this short period of time over the festive period is not necessarily going to affect your goal at all. So you need to understand this as well. But you also need to understand that you can't just brush it to one side and go, you know what, I'm just going to enjoy myself over the festive period, let loose, forget everything that I learned over this, past few months or so when I've really worked on part of my goal. That's the other end that I don't want you to go down as well. I don't want you to get to the point where you do focus on them things, because I think they are very common traits which generally tend to people to go down as well. Like it's quite hard for us to try and maybe focus on a goal at this moment in time as well. So you might just want to maintain your progression as well. Everyone says they want to lose weight or any form of period, but you've got to think of all the things that are going to push you further away from that goal as well. The commitments and time and effort that you potentially have to put yourself under, which does require hard work. But yeah, what I want to bring up with regards to like avoiding things that you need to be looking at really is there's two common traits which could potentially happen at the festive period as well, and one of them is very, very common, probably more common than others. The fact that people will just wait until January to do anything at all. They may have worked really well hard on the goal so far at this period of time, and they've just said to themselves, well, you know what, over this next 3 or 4 weeks, I'm just gonna do what I want. I'll just think about it come January time. But as you find, you're just digging yourself a deeper hole. Like we looked at averages over time again. You're digging yourself a deeper hole with that. You've worked so hard, and you're just going to ruin it all over. You could easily ruin it over a three-week period anyway. Over a short period of like maybe 1-2 days maximum of indulgence, probably isn't going to make a huge amount of difference. But if you start to push this over 3 weeks, you're going to push yourself down a deeper hole. And also as well, what this will potentially do is it will push more restriction come January period. Simple as that. Because you'll get to the January period and you'll go, right, I don't necessarily feel great now. I'm low on energy levels. I'm not, feeling happy with how confident I look in the mirror. My clothes aren't necessarily fitting great at the moment, and I'm just in a really low place at the minute, which generally tends to happen when I pick clients up. Is they feel like that, and they want to get away from that position as quickly as possible. So what they'll generally tend to do is they'll restrict and they'll push themselves because they're impatient, because they want to take them away from that. They want to take them away from that position as quickly as possible. I understand. I've been there before, plenty of times where I've not felt happy and confident with the way I've felt, and I've wanted to push that restriction mode on. But believe me, guys, when you do this, it will promote a binge later on, and you're more likely to come so January time, you may push yourself really hard. February time, you may have the binge, and then you may go back to square one again. So it's just something to think about. And another thing as well, which is probably not as common, but I have noticed this a little bit propping up with certain people that I'm speaking to, is avoiding Christmas celebrations. Like just saying to yourself, well, I don't need to do this, or I don't need to do that. I just need to focus on my weight loss, and I need to just focus on, getting into dress sizes, or I just need to focus on my health a little bit more. So I'm just going to take myself away from that social commitment that I had, or whatever was planned. I'm not going to bother doing it now. I just want to focus on the goal. But what we're doing there is just masking the issue. We're not necessarily solving that issue. What we need to be doing really, which I think is really helpful, is trying to solve being able to still go out, enjoy yourself, indulge, but at the same time still be able to get the result that you want. Simple as that. And it does require a lot of hard work to do this. And, we always talk about balance, and we need balance in our life. But what I generally tend to find, which is quite hard for a lot of people, is trying to make sure that they can jump back on board of things as quickly as possible with this as well. So try not to avoid any form of Christmas celebration. Try not to do that, because when you go back to the celebrations and the indulgence at different periods of the year, you're not going to know what to do. You're like, where do we go? I don't necessarily know how to master this now. So whenever I have a social occasion that props up, or I have little things that are going to go on, then what's going to happen? You don't know what to do. You may gain the weight back on. You don't necessarily know how to solve that issue. So it's about solving it head on, guys, and being able to have social commitments in there, family commitments, indulging, going out for friends, having alcoholic drinks once in a while, and still being able to get the results. That is what you need to be focused on, is that very fine balance, guys. And that's what I generally tend to do in all of my programs. The Lean and Healthy in 6 program, which I'm launching in January, will be one of the things that I'll be focused on, is trying to avoid yo-yo dieting phases, which is so common for a lot of people. And I know exactly how to make sure that we solve them issues as well and give people the reassurance that they need. So if you're interested in any of that, you can just head over to my website, freshlifestylefitness.co.uk. But yeah, there's just something to think about, because as I mentioned before, it is so important for you guys to draw that line, and especially at this Christmas period that we're going into now, it's going to be a lot harder for you to do this. But if you master this now, you will get the results that you want. So it could be a few things which could resist, have a little bit of resistance with this. It's dark and cold at the moment. I've got my hat on inside at the minute. I've kept it on all day, but it's keeping me warm. I don't know why, but I've just kept it on. I feel comfortable in my woolly hat. But yeah, it's cold and dark outside. We don't necessarily want to move. We don't want to do any tasks. We just don't. It just reduces that motivation a little bit more at this time of year with that period of time that we're in. And it could be a few other things. It could be the fact that you've drank alcohol on the weekend. It reduces your ambition. The fact that you've had a drink, you're more likely to crave different types of foods at different periods. So you don't want to go for something else. And it may escalate. It may not just necessarily happen on the Sunday. It might escalate into the Monday where our energy levels are low. So we're just chasing this all the time. And then all of a sudden you're sort of creeping into like Tuesday, Wednesday. And this is where the averages start to change, guys. And it affects your goal a little bit more. And you're like, this is the thing why we need to draw that line and jump back on board as quickly as possible. And the same thing goes with sleep as well. Sleep is so important, guys. Being able to draw a line with the sleep pattern, trying to get to bed at a reasonable time, on a Sunday and stuff like this, taking time to relax, being able to make sure that you just take the time and effort to become more organized on the Sunday. I do this quite a lot with clients, is get yourself organized, just get everything prepped and ready, convenient for you for the next day. Because if you haven't, come Monday, it's going to make it a lot more challenging for you, because the people I generally tend to work with are busy on the go people. They've got work life is quite a higher priority, so they can't necessarily think about foods all the time. So by planning things, becoming more organized on that Sunday may help you out. And that may be quite hard on the Sunday. You're feeling quite tired, maybe a little bit hungover if it's the Christmas period, and you're like, oh, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do now? Like, I'll just sit and watch Netflix and just chill. Okay, yeah, sound. But what's going to happen? You're not going to get to a point where you're not going to move any further forward. So sometimes it's just about taking that effort and time and jumping back on board and start to do all of these things, get all of these tasks done, get yourself prepared, get yourself an early night, all these things that you need to focus on as well. And exercise comes in there as well with things. It is hard. It's difficult to do, but I honestly find when you start to master these things and you start to jump back on board as quickly as possible, you start to create some amazing habits as well, because then you get used to, doing it. It's like, okay, it's just a thing that I have to do sometimes when I'm feeling tired and, my energy levels are slightly low, or, I've indulged this weekend, I know that I still have to do these things. It's a priority to me, because not only is you indulging and going out with friends and family over the festive period, even though that's important to you, your goal of feeling happy and confident with the way you look and feel, your health, all of these things, that is important to you as well. So it's that fine balance that you need to get right of being able to indulge family and friends, do them sorts of things, but also at the same time, your health, the way you look and feel, all of these things are priority as well. And when you do tend to have that fine balance, guys, it can really help you out. Because once you start to create these habits, hard work starts to get a little bit easier. Hard work is difficult sometimes. And sometimes when we're starting something like this type of process, it's really, really difficult to do. But once you start to do it consistently over and over and over again, it might not happen every single week. You might have a great week where you've not necessarily being out and socialised and stuff, but there's going to be plenty of times when this generally tends to happen. And when it does, you'll get better at doing it, and you'll get better at solving them issues, and you'll move further on with your goal. So I hope that makes sense, guys, and hope it gives you a little bit more of an understanding of, just trying to keep yourself motivated for this period of time that you're in, and just keeping yourself focused and getting the result that you want. If you did feel like you need any more support with regards to nutrition or exercise, or give you a little bit of sense of direction on what you need to be doing, the coaching cues of being able to keep yourself positive, also as well accountable within a Facebook group or within my one-to-one services, you can head over to my website at freshlifestylefitness.co.uk. You can register your interest in any of my programs when they come available. Really excited for the new year in 2022 to launch the 6-week program, as well as the first time I'm going to be doing this, and just being able to get some amazing wins within the next year as well, and also within my one-to-one programs as well. So I hope that makes sense, guys. So I'm going to leave it there for today. If you have any other questions at all, please let me know. Feel free to share this information as well onto your social media platforms. It's always quite helpful when people share this, because obviously if I can help you guys out on this, I can help more people out as well. So yeah, I will leave it there for today, and I will speak to you all soon.